Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today, inshallah, we are going to study a new lesson which is called decimal numbers. And we will see how the fraction could reach the decimal form and how the decimal can reach the fractional form. So let's start. So first, the meaning of decimal means what? It means when I have a shape divided into 10 parts or 100 parts or 1000 parts. So here if I have this shape, for example, which is divided into 10 parts, and I took 3 parts shaded out of these 10 parts. So in order to represent this in terms of fraction, I would say that it's 3 over 10. And this is a proper fraction as we know. And in order to read this, I would say it's 3/10. The decimal tells you that if you have this shape divided into 10 parts, which means I have denominator 10. So in order to read this number or to write this number in terms of decimal, I would say that it equals 0.3. And I refer to that point as the decimal point. So if I want to know the meaning of decimal, it means what? It means another way to represent or write the fraction. Or by other means, it's a fraction which have denominator either 10 or 100 or 1000. So look at this number, at this whole number here I have, which is 24. As we know, the 4 refers to the units place and the 2 refers to the tens place. So this is the whole number we used to have. The decimal is another place beside the whole number to the right of the whole number, referring to that number of parts you have out of 10 or 100 or 1000. So this is the decimal point, and I would say 0.3. So when I say 24.3, so this 0.3 means 3/10. So as we said before in the previous slide, that 3/10 is 3 over 10. So this means also that it's a fraction. So it's a decimal, and at the same time it's referring to the fractional form. So it means that the number of parts out of 10 parts, the 3 is out of 10 parts. So this means that we can transform from fraction to decimal and also from decimal to fraction. Or fraction is another way to represent the decimal, and vice versa, decimal is another way to represent the fraction. So let's now take how to convert from a fraction to decimal and from a decimal to fraction. Vice versa, from decimal to fraction. So as we know that fractions, we have 3 types of fractions: proper, improper, mixed number. So this means we will learn how to transform from proper or improper or mixed numbers to the decimal, and also how to transform from a decimal to fraction, from a fraction to decimal, and from decimal to fraction. So let's first take how to transform from the fraction to decimal. Starting by the proper fraction here, I will have 3 over 10, the same example. So I will learn how to follow the certain steps in order to transform the fraction to decimal. So this is a proper fraction. I have 3 parts shaded out of 10 parts, as we said. I will look firstly to the denominator. So here the denominator is 10, having 1 0. So I will put 0 whole numbers because I don't have whole numbers to the left, and I'm talking about the right of that decimal point. So I will see how many parts out of 10, so 3 parts. So I will put the 3 to the right of that decimal. And I have only one place to the right because I have in the denominator 10, which means 1 0. So if I have 1 0, I will leave one space to the right, which is the 10th space, and I will put the 3 above this dash. So this is the way to transform from proper fraction to the decimal number. Look to the denominator. If I see 1 0, I will leave one place, and then I will put the 3 on that place. And also it's here 3/10, as we know. Another example for the proper fraction, when I have 17 over 100. So if I want to represent this in terms of shapes, if we have 100 parts of one whole, and I chose 17 parts, 17 shaded or blue parts out of these 100 parts. So it's 17 over 100. How to transform this into decimal, or how to represent this in terms of decimal number? First, I will look to the denominator. How many zeros do I have here? I have 2 zeros. So I will first write 0 to the left because I don't have whole numbers. As you see here, the proper fraction, I don't have whole number to the left of that fraction. So in the proper fraction, the whole number will be always 0. So I have here 0 point, and I will leave 2 spaces or 2 places to the right of that decimal point. So why 2 places? Because I have 2 zeros in the denominator. This is the decimal point, and then I will write 17 on those 2 places. So it's 1700. So from fractions to decimal. Now how to convert from the mixed number to the decimal form. If I have a mixed number, as you see here, 1 and 3 over 10. Now we know before basically that the 1 refers to the whole number and the 3 over 10 refers to the decimal part or the fractional part. Or if we can deal with it, we can say that it's the proper fraction we transformed previously. So here I have 1 whole and 3 over 10. So first, in order to represent this in terms of shapes, I have 1 whole. All the 10 parts are selected in the first whole. So as long as 10 over 10, so it's 1. So in the second 3 over 10, I shaded 3 parts out of 10 parts. How to transform this into decimal? I will look to the denominator. I have 1 0, so I will have 1 place to the right. What about the left? Do I have any whole numbers? Yes. So I have 1 whole number, point, and leave 1 space because I have 1 0. And then write the 3 on that. So this means that actually the decimal point separates the number into 2 parts, into the whole number and into the fractional form or the decimal number. So the decimal number to the right and the whole number to the left. So remember this because it's very important. So it's 1 and 3/10. The third case is how to transform the improper to the decimal. Do you remember that we have a relationship between the mixed number and the improper fraction? So it's the same here. We have to deal with the denominator. How to represent this? It's the same representation for the mixed number. So in order to transform into decimal, I have to look first to the denominator. Here I have denominator 10, which means 1 0 or 1 space. But here, this time, I will not begin by putting the point and leaving the space of the decimal number. But rather, because I have here an improper fraction, I will begin by inserting the numerator as it is 13. And then look from the right and try to leave 1 space because I have 1 0. I will leave 1 space and put the decimal point from right to left. So it's 1 and 3/10. Now let's practice. Okay, the question is write the following using the decimal point. Convert into decimals or convert into decimal form. So the first question is 9 over 10. The question now is how can I transform this fraction into decimal? We said before decimal means I have always denominator 10 or 100 or 1000, and then I will deal with the decimal point and leave spaces to the right of that decimal according to the number of zeros I have in the denominator. If I have 1 0, I will leave 1 space. If I have 2 zeros, I will leave 2 spaces. 3 zeros, 3 spaces. So here 9 over 10. This is a proper fraction. So I don't have a whole number, and rather I will have numbers to the right of the decimal. So whole number will be 0. So how many spaces can I leave? I will leave 1 space because I have 1 0. And then I will put the 9 above this dash, above this space I assigned. The second case is the mixed number. We said before we have to deal with the mixed number by separating between the whole number and the proper fraction. And put the whole number to the left of the decimal, put the proper fraction to the right of the decimal. And how many spaces would you leave for the right is according to the number of zeros. So here I have 1 0, so leave 1 space. So I inserted the 5 in the whole number position, and I will put the 4 above the 1 dash. I left it for the 1 0. Here I have also 1 0, which means 1 space. But here the question is, what type of that fraction? It's an improper fraction. So we said in order to solve such problem, we have to insert the numerator as it is and then begin to count from the right 1 place because we have 1 0. So first you have to assign what type of that fraction in order to know basically how to deal with it. So now I have 100, so I will leave 2 spaces. And this, by the way, is a proper fraction because the numerator is less than the denominator. So I know from the beginning that I will have 0 whole numbers. So I leave 2 spaces because 2 zeros, and then 83. Now this is a mixed number. First I will put the 2 and leave 2 spaces to the right. So put the 7 in the first space, and the empty spaces I will put 0 inside. Here I have mixed number also. So 4, put the 4 and leave 3 spaces because I have 3 zeros in the denominator, and then put the 99 in the first and second spaces from the right, and then the empty spaces I will put 0. Now, what if I have the fraction which is half? I have denominator 2, which means that denominator is not 10. So how can I transform into decimal? I know that it would be easy for me to have the denominator 10 or 100 or 1000 to easily transform into decimal. What shall I do here? It's so simple. I will simply transform this 2 into 10. So I will choose a number. If I multiply it by 2, I will get either 10 or 100 or 1000. So it's like choosing a friend for that 2. So choosing 5, I will have 10. 2 times 5 equals 10. So 1 times 5 equals 5. And then I call the 2 and 5, I call them friends. They are friends because they gave me 10. So then 5 over 10 would be equal to easily 0.5. 1 space to the right because 1 0 in the denominator, it's a proper fraction, so I don't have whole numbers. So it will be 5, 0.5. So 5/10 or 0.5. So here, what if I have 1 over 4? So the denominator is not 10, it's not 100, it's not 1000. So I have to think about a friend for the 4 that gives me either 10 or 100 or 1000. So 4 times what? 4 times 25. And whatever I do down, I have to do up. So 1 times 25. Now the denominator, if I multiply 4 times 25, the result will be 100. So the numerator is 25. And I can call 4 and 25 as friends. So now it's a proper fraction. No whole numbers to the left. And it's only 2 places to the right because I have 2 zeros in the denominator. So it's decimal point here and 2, 5. So it's 2500 or 0.25. What if also I have 1 over 8? The 8 in the denominator would not allow me to transform into decimal. So how can I deal with that fraction? It's just simply search for a friend for 8 that gives you denominator either 10 or 100 or 1000. So I chose 8 times 125. If you multiply 8 times 125, you will find the denominator will be 1000. So 1 times 125, it's 1000. So I would say that 8 and 125 are friends. So this is a proper fraction. So the whole number would be 0. And I have 3 places to the right of that decimal point. And I will write the numerator here. So 125, 0.125 or 125 thousandth. So the friends are 2 times 5 gives me 10, 4 times 25 gives me 100, and 8 times 125 gives me 1000. And by the way, we can deduce other rules. What does this mean? It means that you can find the denominator is 20 or 50. So the idea is that the friends here are still 2 and 5. I will just drop the zeros and we'll deal with the 2 and 5. So I will keep choosing the 5 as a friend for the 20. And I will keep choosing the 25 as a friend for the 40. So if I added a 0 or I put a 0 in any of these numbers, it would not change their combinations with each other. So let's practice. Convert the following fractions into decimals. So the denominator here is 20, so I will just simply multiply it also by 5. Why? Because the 2 is a friend for 5. So multiply denominator and numerator by 5. So the answer is 15 over 100. Now it can be so easy to transform into decimal. This is a proper fraction. I don't have whole numbers, so the whole number will be 0 and I have 2 places to the right. So 0.15. The next, I have 8 in the denominator. Multiply numerator denominator by 125. So here I have a mixed number, so I will put the 9 as it is and rewrite the fraction, the new fraction. Then this is a mixed number, so I have 3 places to the right of the decimal, and as a whole number I have 9 and 3 places to the right. Then I will write 1, 2, 5 on that 3 places. 25, what is the friend of the 25? It's simply 4. 4 times 25 equals 100. So whatever I do down, I have to do up and insert the 27 as it is. Now I will deal with a mixed number. So how to transform from a mixed number to a decimal form? I will put the 27 in the whole, in the left, to the left of the decimal, and to the right I will leave 2 spaces and put the 4, insert the 4 in the first place, and the empty spaces I would put 0 on it. Now 300 here in the denominator. Okay, we didn't take a friend for the 300, but I have to think, the 300, how can I make the 300 reach like 100, for example? Okay, so this means I can divide it. If I divide it by 3, for example, I would have 100, right? So always think by yourself how to get rid of a number in order to reach your goal, to have denominator 10 or 100 or 1000. So here I will divide numerator and denominator by the 3. Why? Because I thought about the denominator. I want the denominator this to be 100 to get rid of the 3. So when I divide it, the answer is 334 over 100. So now it's so easy to transform into decimal. Notice here that 334 is greater than the denominator, which means that this is an improper fraction. We said before, we insert the numerator first before assigning the decimal, and then we count from the right the places according to the denominator, 2 places from the right, and put the decimal point. So from fractions to decimals and from decimals to fraction, vice versa. So now we have to study how to transform from a decimal to fraction. If I have a decimal number and I want to transform it into a fractional form, so 0.3. So this is the decimal point. So it equals what? First, how to transform into the proper fraction. So I know that the proper fraction means that I have a numerator and denominator, and the numerator is less than the denominator. So I will think this way, that first I will draw the proper fraction and leave spaces for it, and then I will think, how many places do I have to the right of that decimal point? It's 1 place. Okay, so I have 1 0, so it's 10 in the denominator. Then I will put the 3 in the numerator. And this is the way how you solve the decimal into proper, how you write the decimal into proper fraction. So it's a 3/10. The second case I want to answer, or I want to explain, is how to transform the decimal into the mixed number and improper fraction. So first, also like I did in the proper, I will draw, or I will imagine my goal is what? Is to reach the mixed. Okay, I'm going to write the mixed form, whole number and proper fraction. Improper, okay, I'm going to imagine that I have numerator, denominator, and the numerator should be greater than the denominator. So now, in order to reach the mixed number, first, I have to know that the decimal point separates the number into two parts. The first is the whole number to the left, and to the right we have the decimal number or the fractional form. So I will put the whole in the whole. So I'll put 9, insert the 9 under the whole number in the mixed number, and then I will look to the decimal to the right. I will see how many numbers do I have to the right. 2 numbers means 2 spaces or 2 places. So I will put 2 zeros in the denominator, which means 100. And then I will write the 22 above the denominator. I will write the 22 in the numerator. Then, in order to reach the form of improper from the decimal, I have to remember first how I transformed the mixed number into improper fraction. So let's transform this mixed number into the improper fraction. So denominator is 100 as it is. We put the denominators the same, and then we multiply the denominator times the whole number, then add the result to the numerator in order to find the numerator. So 100 times 9 equals 900, plus 22, it's 922. So now try to grasp the relationship between the improper and the decimal. What do you notice? We notice that the denominator is 100 because we have 2 places to the right. So if we have 2 places, we put the denominator as 100. And then we notice that 922 is simply exactly the same as the decimal number we have here, but without the decimal point. So if we omit the decimal point and we just insert the digits as they are, we will find that they are 922. So in order to transform from a decimal to improper fraction, I have to write the number as it is without the decimal point. Let's practice. So convert each of the following decimals into a mixed number. So first I will put the form of the mixed number. Then I will imagine that this decimal point separates the number. To the left I have the whole number. To the right I have the decimal number. So I will put the whole in the whole and the decimal in the decimal. So the whole number here in the mixed number also consisting of whole number and proper fraction. So I put the whole in the whole, 15 here, and then the 9, I will see how many places do I have. So it's 1 place, 1 0, so it's 10, and put the 9 in the numerator. The second, 4 and 4.13, so prepare first the mixed number and then think that way that the decimal point separates the number into whole and decimal sections, and put the 4 in the whole place. And then how many places do you have to the right? Deal with the other one as a proper fraction when transforming it into decimal. So how many places to the right? 2 places, so 2 zeros in the denominator, so 100, and put the 13 in the numerator. Here I have 8 in as a whole number, so I will put the 8 in the whole, and then 3 places, so 3 zeros, so 1005. So 8 and 5 over 1000. Here I have also 17 in the whole number, and in the denominator I have 3 places to the right of the decimal, so I have 1000 in the denominator, and in the numerator 32. So 17 and 32 over 1000. Convert each of the following decimals into an improper fraction. So first I have to imagine what is the form of the improper fraction. Okay, it's just one fraction having the numerator greater than the denominator. So it's just one fraction. So I will see first how many places do I have to the right. So I will put the denominator first. And what about the numerator? Exactly as we said, we put the decimal number as it is, but without the decimal point. So 354 over 10. The second one, how many places to the right? It's just one place, so it's 10. And we put all of the digits of that decimal number, but without the decimal point. So 2415 over 10. How many places to the right? 2 places, so 100 in the denominator, and then 822 in the numerator. How many places to the right? 3 places, so 1000 and 6009 in the numerator. So I put in the numerator the decimal number as it is, but without the decimal point. That's all. Thank you and jazakumullah khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.